Emma always believed in fairy tales. Not the kind with castles and dragons, but the kind where two people find each other, fall in love, and never let go. When she met Daniel, she thought her story had finally begun. They met at a coffee shop. In London, on a rainy afternoon, Daniel was charming in a way that felt effortless. He had a crooked smile, a voice that carried calm confidence, and eyes that seemed to notice every detail. He offered her his umbrella, joked about fate bringing them together, and within weeks, Emma was falling hard. The relationship grew fast. Dinner dates turned into weekends away. Weekends away turned into moving in together. Within 2 years, they were married. Emma would often look at Daniel across the breakfast table and think to herself, I'm the luckiest woman in the world. Daniel wasn't just her husband, he was her best friend, her safe place. He sent her flowers at work, left notes in her purse saying I love you, and never forgot to kiss her goodnight. He wasn't perfect, of course. He worked long hours, often came home late, sometimes distracted by his phone. But Emma brushed it off. That's what happens when you marry someone ambitious, she told herself. For a while, everything was perfect, or at least, it seemed to be. It started with small things. One evening, while Daniel was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma glanced at it, not meaning to snoop, but her eyes caught a preview of a notification. You free tonight? Her stomach dropped. When Daniel came out, towel wrapped around his waist, she forced herself to smile and pretend nothing had happened. She told herself it must be a mistake, maybe a friend teasing him, maybe even a spam message. But the seed of doubt had been planted. The next week, she noticed how often he kept his phone face down. He started stepping outside to take calls, lowering his voice in the hallway. Once, at midnight, she woke up and found him sitting in the living room, phone glowing in his hand, smiling at something or someone on the screen. Emma's heart raced. She wanted to ask him, she wanted to scream, but instead, she stayed quiet, too afraid of the answer. Then came the night that changed everything. Daniel had told her he was working late. Emma, trying to be a supportive wife, decided to surprise him with dinner at his office. She packed his favorite pasta, drove across the city, and smiled to herself at the thought of how happy he would be. But when she arrived, the office building was dark. Confused, she called his phone. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Something inside her told her to check. To not just go home like a naive wife waiting by the door. So she drove around, searching, her chest tight. That's when she saw him. Daniel was across the street, standing under a street lamp with a woman Emma had never seen before. The woman was tall, elegant, laughing as Daniel touched her cheek. And then, without hesitation, Daniel leaned in and kissed her. Emma froze. Her hands gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. Her breath caught in her throat. Her husband, the man who kissed her goodnight every evening, was kissing someone else like she didn't exist. She wanted to honk the horn, to scream, to run across the street and tear him away. But she couldn't move. She sat there in silence, watching her perfect world collapse in front of her. When Daniel finally walked away with the woman, arm around her waist, Emma drove home in a blur of tears. She sat in the dark apartment for hours, waiting for him to return, her chest aching with every tick of the clock. At 1 a.m., the door opened. Daniel walked in, smiling like nothing was wrong. Hey babe, he said casually, kissing her forehead. Sorry, I'm late. Work was brutal tonight. Emma stared at him, her entire body trembling, but said nothing. She forced a nod, forced a smile, forced herself to play the role of the trusting wife, because she knew this was just the beginning. And deep down, she also knew. She needed to find out how deep the betrayal went. Emma didn't sleep that night. She lay awake next to Daniel, listening to the steady rhythm of his breathing, as though he were the most innocent man alive. Her mind replayed the image of him kissing that other woman, over and over, until it felt burned into her skull. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again. By morning, she had made a decision. She needed to know everything. No more doubts, no more excuses. She wasn't going to confront him, not yet. Instead, she would watch, listen, and collect the truth with her own hands. The first thing she did was check his phone while he showered. Her hands shook as she opened his messages. Most conversations were normal, work, friends, family. But then she found one under the name Mark, except Mark wasn't a man. The texts were laced with heart emojis, late night I miss you messages, and plans to meet at hotels. Emma felt her stomach churn. He was smart saving her name under a man's contact, but not smart enough. That day Emma went to work like nothing had happened. She smiled at her colleagues, answered emails, made jokes over lunch. But inside, she was unraveling. She couldn't concentrate, couldn't breathe without thinking about Daniel's lies. Every vibration of her phone made her flinch. Every thought led back to one burning question. Who is this woman, and how long has this been happening? The following week, Emma became a shadow in her own life. She started tracking his movements, noting when he left home and when he returned. She checked his credit card bills, spotting charges from restaurants she'd never been to, hotels she had never stayed. One evening, she followed him. Daniel told her he was going to a late meeting. Emma waited 10 minutes after he left, then grabbed her coat and slipped into her car. Her heart pounded in her chest as she kept her distance, following the glow of his taillights through the city streets. Finally, he parked outside a boutique hotel. Emma's breath hitched as she watched him walk inside. Minutes later, the woman from before appeared, the same woman he had kissed under the streetlight. She wore a red dress that clung to her figure, her heels clicking against the pavement as she rushed to meet him. Daniel embraced her like a lover, not a fling, not a stranger, a lover. Emma's vision blurred with tears, but she didn't look away. She needed to see. She needed to witness the truth she had been too afraid to face. They disappeared inside together, leaving Emma alone in the car, gripping the steering wheel until her hands went numb. She stayed there for hours, waiting, crying silently in the darkness. When Daniel finally returned to his car, hair tousled and tie loosened, he looked like a man who had spent the evening anywhere but in a meeting. Emma followed him home, careful not to be seen. She slipped into bed minutes before he did, her back turned to him, her body rigid with anger and heartbreak. "Sorry, it got so late," Daniel whispered, kissing her shoulder before falling asleep within seconds. Emma stared at the wall, her mind screaming. She wanted to wake him, to throw the truth in his face, to scream until he confessed everything. But she didn't, not yet, because Emma now realized something crucial. This wasn't just about heartbreak. It wasn't just about love. Daniel was living two lives, and Emma was determined to expose every piece of it, no matter how much it hurt. Emma couldn't take it anymore. The sleepless nights, the constant pretending, the way Daniel kissed her good morning while still carrying the scent of another woman, it was tearing her apart from the inside. For days, she rehearsed what she would say. Sometimes she imagined screaming at him, throwing the truth in his face. Other times, she pictured herself cold and calm, watching him squirm under the weight of his own lies. The chance came on a Friday night. Daniel came home later than usual, his shirt wrinkled, his hair a mess. Emma sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open but untouched. She watched him toss his keys on the counter and pour himself a glass of wine, like it was just another ordinary evening. "Long day at work?" Emma asked, her voice steady, though her heart was pounding. "Brutal," Daniel sighed, sipping his drink. "I swear, if my boss keeps piling things on me like this, I'll burn out completely." Emma leaned back in her chair, studying him. He was lying so smoothly, so naturally, like a man who had practiced in that hurt more than anything. "Funny," she said slowly, "because I drove by your office tonight. It was empty." Daniel froze, just for a second, but Emma caught it. He blinked, then forced a laugh. "You must have gone too late. People left early today." Emma's jaw tightened. "I also saw you at the Regent Hotel." The glass slipped slightly in his hand, nearly spilling. His eyes flickered with something sharp, fear, maybe, or anger, but then he masked it with a smile. "You're imagining things, Em." Emma stood, her voice rising now. "Don't lie to me. I saw you. I saw her. Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I'm that stupid?" Daniel slammed his glass on the counter, wine sloshing over the edge. His calm facade shattered. "Enough," he barked. "You're paranoid, always checking up on me, always suspicious. No wonder I need space." The words cut deeper than any blade. "No wonder I need space." Emma felt her chest tighten, her breath shaking. She whispered, "So it's true, you admit it." Daniel rubbed his forehead, pacing the kitchen. "Look, it's not what you think. She's just someone I talked to. Things got out of hand. Okay, but it doesn't mean anything." Emma laughed bitterly, tears stinging her eyes. "Doesn't mean anything. I saw you kiss her. You've been lying to me, sneaking around for months, and you think this doesn't mean anything." Silence hung heavy between them. Daniel's face hardened, his voice turning cold. "You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I've been seeing her. Because with her, I don't feel judged. With her, I can breathe. You suffocate me, Emma." The words hit like a hammer. Emma staggered back, gripping the edge of the table for support. Her whole body shook, not just from heartbreak, but from rage. "I gave you everything," she whispered. "My love, my trust, my whole life. And you threw it away for this. For someone who doesn't even know you like I do." Daniel didn't answer. He just grabbed his coat and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Emma stood in the silence, her tears dripping onto the floor. For the first time in her life, she felt completely alone. But underneath the pain, something else was growing. Sharp, dangerous, unstoppable. Resolve. Because, if Daniel thought he could betray her and walk away unscathed, he was wrong. Very wrong. The apartment felt like a tomb after Daniel stormed out. Emma sat in the dim light of the kitchen, her heart racing with anger and despair. But beneath the pain, her mind was working. She needed answers, real answers. And this time, she wasn't going to stop until she uncovered everything. The next morning, Daniel acted as though nothing had happened. He greeted her with a kiss on the cheek, asked if she wanted coffee, even hummed while making breakfast. It was almost comical, like, he thought, pretending would erase the words he had thrown at her the night before. Emma played along. She smiled, faintly nodded, and said little. Inside, however, she was planning her next move. That afternoon, while Daniel was in the shower, Emma opened his laptop. He rarely let her touch it, always keeping it locked with a password. But Emma had watched him enough times to know his habits. She tried a few variations: birthdays, pet names, and on the third attempt, the screen unlocked. Her pulse spiked. She opened his email first. Buried among work documents and travel itineraries, she found a separate folder marked simply private. Inside were dozens of messages between Daniel and the woman she'd seen. Emma's hands trembled as she read them: detailed plans for secret trips, hotel bookings, and late-night confessions of love. This wasn't a fling. This was an entire relationship running parallel to her marriage. But that wasn't the worst part. Scrolling further, Emma found messages with other women. Not just one, not two, at least 4 different names, each conversation dripping with flirtation, innuendo, and promises. Emma's stomach turned. Daniel wasn't just cheating, he was living a double life, maybe even a triple one. As if that wasn't enough, she stumbled across something even darker. Hidden in a folder labeled finance, there were bank transfers, large sums of money sent to anonymous accounts. Thousands of pounds gone, with vague notes like consulting or services. Emma's chest tightened. What was he paying for? Was it just hotels and dinners, or was there something bigger, something criminal? That evening, she decided to confront him again, but this time, with evidence. When Daniel returned home, whistling casually as if he hadn't destroyed their marriage, Emma was waiting at the dining table with his laptop open in front of her. His smile vanished instantly. What are you doing with that? Emma's eyes blazed with fury. How many lies are you living, Daniel? 1 mistress, 2, 4. How many women do you need before you're satisfied? Daniel's jaw tightened, his voice low and sharp. It went through my files. Don't you dare turn this on me, Emma shouted, slamming her hand on the table. Do you think I wouldn't find out? Do you think I'd sit here forever, cooking your meals, folding your shirts, while you buy hotel rooms and send money to God knows who? For the first time, Daniel didn't try to charm her. He didn't even deny it. His face hardened, his eyes cold. You should have stayed out of it, Emma. A chill ran down her spine. The way he said it, calm, almost threatening, made her realize something terrifying. This wasn't just about cheating. Daniel had secrets far darker than she ever imagined. She whispered, "Who are you, Daniel?" He stepped closer, his shadow looming over her. The man you married. The man who gave you everything. And the man who can take it all away if you don't stop digging. Emma's blood ran cold. For the first time, she wasn't just heartbroken. She was afraid. That night, as Daniel slept soundly beside her, Emma lay wide awake, staring at the ceiling. The betrayal was no longer just emotional, it was dangerous. And she had a choice, to walk away quietly, or to keep digging and risk everything. And deep inside, Emma knew one thing. She wasn't done yet. Emma had never felt fear like this before. Every glance from Daniel now carried a weight, a silent warning. She no longer saw just her husband. She saw a stranger, someone who could smile at her in the morning and threaten her in the evening, without missing a beat. But Emma wasn't broken. She was angry, determined, and desperate to reclaim her life. For weeks, she quietly gathered evidence: screenshots of emails, bank transfers, hotel bookings, everything she could find. She copied them to a flash drive, hiding it in the lining of her purse. She spoke to a lawyer in secret, preparing for the inevitable storm. And most importantly, she waited for the perfect moment to strike. That moment came one Saturday night. Daniel told her he was meeting an old friend. Emma already knew the truth. She followed him again, her heart pounding but her mind crystal clear. She watched as he walked into the same boutique hotel, arm wrapped around the woman in the red dress. Emma didn't cry this time. She didn't shake. She didn't even blink. Instead, she walked inside after them. The receptionist glanced up, but Emma strode past with a confidence she didn't know she had. She took the elevator to the 3rd floor, following the faint sound of laughter down the hallway, and then she saw the door half open, Daniel's voice drifting out. Soft and affectionate. She pushed it open. Daniel froze mid-sentence, the color draining from his face. The woman gasped, pulling the sheet tighter around herself. Emma stood tall, her voice steady. So this is the truth. No more lies, no more excuses. Daniel scrambled to his feet, his hands raised as if to calm her. Emma, please, let me explain. Explain. Emma cut him off, her voice sharp as glass. I've spent months drowning in your lies. I saw the emails, the money, the women. Do you even know who you are anymore? The other woman shifted uncomfortably, whispering, Daniel, what is she talking about? Emma looked straight at her. He's married. To me, and while you thought you were special, you were just one of many. The woman's face crumbled in shock. She grabbed her clothes and bolted past Emma, leaving Daniel standing there, exposed and furious, his mask shattered. You ruined everything, he hissed. Do you have any idea what you've done? Emma took a step closer, her eyes blazing. No, Daniel, you ruined everything. You destroyed us. You destroyed me. But you don't own me anymore. She pulled the flash drive from her purse and held it up. I have everything, the proof, the transfers, the lies. And tomorrow, the world will know who you really are. For the first time, Daniel looked afraid. Truly afraid. He reached out, desperate. Emma, please, don't do this. We can fix it. We can start over. Emma's voice cracked, but she stood firm. You don't get second chances. Not after this. She turned and walked out, leaving him standing alone in the hotel room. His empire of lies collapsing around him. The next weeks were a blur. The divorce papers were filed. Daniel tried to fight, but Emma had the evidence. His affairs, his financial secrets, they all came crashing down in court. He lost money, reputation, and most of all, the control he once held over her. Emma, though scarred, was finally free. On a quiet Sunday morning, she sat in a cafe by herself, sipping coffee, watching the rain streak down the window. For the first time in years, she breathed easily. She wasn't the broken wife anymore. She was stronger, wiser, unshackled. She whispered to herself, I survived. And in that moment, Emma knew her story wasn't about betrayal. It was about reclaiming her life from the ashes of lies.